Right, welcome to the Old Poetry Podcast, the kind of midweek podcast feature, sort of all things mental health. And today's guest, I'm joined with co-founder of the charity Walking for Hope and local Nottinghamshire lad, John Bell. How you doing, John? All right?
Not too bad, thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me on as well. Thank you.
No, absolute pleasure. I got hold of your story, and I've obviously heard a lot about your story, and I definitely wanted to have you on. Like I say, the feature we have midweek is all things mental health, whether it's people's own mental health journey, how they've then gone on to set up kind of charity, or how they put stuff back, or how they're raising funds. So I'm happy to push anything that's kind of related around that to try and help anyone out, especially with yourself being a local kind of Nottinghamshire lad.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
So what I like to do is just obviously start with how you kind of came up with the charity Walking for Hope, because you've got your own story, haven't you? That's quite a tragic story.
Yeah, I mean, it began back in 2020 in July. My 15-year-old son, my firstborn son, Jake Bell, we lost him. I mean, I can talk about more or less anything myself. I've learned to deal with a lot of my demons since losing him, but I'm learning more to be appropriate about how I go about things, especially when I'm becoming starting to become an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So my son, it was said by the courts he died by an accident. It was an accident, basically, and I have to think I've got family members that grieve differently to me as well. I'm quite open at talking, so forgive me if I sort of sound like I'm rambling a little bit. I think about other people all the time, especially my family members and how they're dealing with their grief, so I remain respectful to that. So I talk more about my story since losing my son, and how I've dealt with that, and myself being in a very dark place for the best part of a year. I spent every single day for a year, Chris, planning my own death to join my son. It broke every fibre of my being, and I've learned to sort of, don't come through something like that. It's something you have to learn to sort of live with. I mean, I've got 4 children, including my stepson, and I don't love any of them more than I love the other. And this is a question you can get asked sometimes when you've got 3 more children, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? You've got to be here for them. You know that as a parent. And I didn't know how to cope in this new world without the firstborn, because that was what made me a father in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Jake is what made me a father and changed everything to make me want to be a more responsible person for my entire family. And I didn't know how to be here for anybody else. I didn't know how to be here for myself. So it took me off into into the mountainous regions, going to the peaks and the Lake District. And it all began because Jake was going to join us on a charity hike up Ben Nevis, and that was planned, which ended up being 5 days before his funeral. And something inside me told me I had to do it still, and because Jake was supposed to be there, and my wife joined me, and something changed in me that day and told me I needed to be outdoors, I needed to be challenging my mindset. And that was the start of it all. That's where it all began, and I needed to find something to stay in and find a way to stay here, not just for my family. I needed to be here for myself, because I'm just going to be sat in an horrible sort of mindset and world where I don't want to live, and I'm just ticking along. That you've got to find a way to find joy again with this, and I found that by spending an entire year every day in the darkest place I didn't even know existed. I've been in bad places before, and as you know yourself, being ex-forces, we were the first ones out there, apart from the special forces, for the first Optelic. We didn't even have a name. Did I get Optelic 1, 2, 3? We was just Optelic. We was the first ones over the border. And you see some things, don't you? And they can have a massive effect on you. But this just broke me in a way I never knew existed. So I had to start rebuilding myself, and I did this in nature. I found a lot of solace in nature after spending a solid year in this dark place. And I'm still, you know what, that dark place is always there. It's said by Carl Jung, isn't it? Like in the last century, the shadow of the so I can't remember how words now, but basically shadow self, isn't it? So I understand that. I've learned to come to terms with that and made my peace with a lot of things, especially death. And that can sound pessimistic. People don't like to talk about death sometimes, but I've made my peace with it, and it truly allows me to live now. So I don't sort of want to. I've established being outside and connecting with nature. I've established a relationship with my son, so powerful. I've got all this love for him still, and it's where does that go? Where can that go? It'll be the end of me if not. So I've learned that it lives on in my heart, and so I always talk about the fact that I cultivate what's known as loving kindness, which is a Buddhist sort of term, and I practice being nice to myself, being kind. Not many people know what being kind to yourself means, how to do that and have that compassion for yourself. I know how to, because I want to be a better person. I want to, my son lives in my heart. It's going to be a nice place for him to live. I'm going to continue practicing that. I have to provide hope for myself every day. And then I like to pass that hope forward. I like to create hope. If I can't find it, I will create hope. So I connect with nature, I get out there, I challenge my mindset. I'm a big fan of a guy called David Goggins, if you've ever heard of him, who's someone introduced me to.
Books, yeah.
Brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant. That mindset, I understood it. You know, to the darkness, I understood that mindset as soon as I started listening to him. And I wanted to understand more about that and what I'm truly capable of, so I can remain here and enjoy remaining here. And I can push myself that a little bit further now, because I'm not doing it just for myself. I get what I need from staying now and wanting to provide hope for not just me, but for others. And so my family still have me here, and I can live longer. Do you know what I mean? So I enjoy being alive now. And the nature thing, I did a big walk, one of my biggest walks. I took on challenges each year near set dates. Say like Jake's anniversary, Jake's birthday, things like this, because I didn't know how I will react. So I started developing my own coping mechanisms, and I'm finding more and more each time. I'm constantly looking for these. I'm not going to sit and wallow in my own self-pity, and I adopt that woe is me attitude after losing Jake. So I look for all these different options all the time, and they're there. There's so many there. We just have to open our eyes and look for them. And it's not just opening your eyes. I feel like my heart and my mind's been opened fully, because I've got this relationship with my son. It's like he's given me a gift, and it's a difficult thing probably for some people to hear that. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd do anything to have him back right now. Anything. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing I want sort of smashed through, anything. But I'm not. I don't think I was a bad person before, but I would not want to go back to being that person after what Jake's taught me. What he's done here has taught me so much. I feel, because I've gone that deep back, rewiring my own learned behaviour and things. So I'm not passing my own traumas on to other people. I want to pass on a lot more than that. I want to give people something more. There's more to us than meets the eye, I think, and I think that's every single one of us. So basically, one of the biggest walks, I walked to Hope in the Peak District, Hope Valley, all in the same vicinity. Because I took to the peaks quite a lot, being on our doorstep in the Mansfield area. And I wanted to test myself how far I could walk, and it was 37 miles, because I'd zigzagged around all the trails. I wanted to keep the scenery good, and then I walked back the next day. So I did 37 miles there, 37 miles back, and camped over. And I carried about 18 kilograms, which isn't actually quite a lot when you're ex-military, is it? But it's a good amount, isn't it? Carried 18 kilograms because I got me camping gear and that in there, and I actually found, are they seeds, the sycamore little helicopters things that and spin around? I found one of them, and I had to double take, and I looked back, and this is where the entire name of the charity come from, and our logo, it had to become part of the logo. So a lot of it's significant, and it was shaped like a ribbon bent back on itself, which is what charities have for promoting what they're doing. They have a nice ribbon, don't they? You can buy them and things. And in the middle, it was literally a natural art shape as well. And it was green and yellow, which is mental health colours for charities, green and yellow for suicide prevention. So that had to be a part of what we're doing. And that's where the name Walking for Hope come from. So I was walking to hope that day. So now it's Walking for Hope. So I'm continuing to walk. And I can keep taking these steps. I love being outdoors. I love challenging that mindset. The more and more I do it, the more stronger I become, the more resilient my mindset comes, and the more I love it. Because it's not, difficult for me to go out and do long mileage. It's just become one of the biggest coping mechanisms I've got, because I'm out there. I'm having time with my son when I'm doing it. He's with me all the way. Do you know what I mean? So I feel it. It's like it courses through my veins. I've never been religious or spiritual my entire life. I'd be the type of person that, like, you can talk to me, dead grand. Yeah, off you go. Do you know what I mean? But I think this is what being spiritual is all about. That feeling inside yourself, isn't it? Not not taking advantage of other people with some sort of skill set that you've learned as this, because it's something truly special. What I've learned from this and this love, that I don't want to go to my grave. I say quite often, I could, if I died tomorrow, Chris, I'm okay with that. I really am okay with that. I've learned to understand how to support myself and create my own coping mechanisms, because we live in our own head every single day. And so you need to understand yourself. Stop trying to understand other people and understand yourself. This is what I want to do. You'll naturally understand other people then, because you know what compassion you need to give to yourself. You'll give that to other people as well. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, I would be fine if I died tomorrow. I'd be perfectly fine with that, because I've got everything I need. It's everybody else that's left behind that will suffer. So I will be adding to that suffering effect. And this is what suicide does, isn't it? It creates that ripple effect. And somebody needs to start looking at this and becoming a cycle breaker. The more of us that break that cycle and do that and start showing others we can be more than what we suffer. And I don't want to turn around and say we bubble wrap things in society nowadays. It's about having a balance, isn't it? It's about having a balance. So and that's where, I mean, understanding the outdoors and how much it did for me. And the more you look at it scientifically with nature and everything as well, it's really good for that, for the mind. It's really good for the soul, isn't it? It's brilliant for you, and you just connect. And you know what? You're away from the technology and the anxiety that comes with it as well. And we take our phones with us still because of your maps and stuff. People still rely on phones for that, and like sort of flora fauna apps to see what flowers you've got about. And it's brilliant education for kids when we do family walks. So I'm now a trainee mountain leader, and I take people out further afield into the peaks and that, and do group walks as well through our charity, Walking for Hope. We do support groups as well. Our model for our support group is based on Andy's Man Club model, which I'm sure you've heard of Andy's Man Club, the national charity now.
I have. I've been in touch with them, and hopefully the founder, I think his name might be Luke, the founder.
He was who they lost, Andy Roberts. He was his brother-in-law, basically. Luke Ambley.
Well, hopefully that he's going to do an episode on the podcast as well. I'm in talks with him now, been emailing back and forth, because again, I think it's kind of another brilliant charity there that's doing kind of same sort of thing. You know,
I'm trained. I haven't been for a while because I'm obviously running our charity now as well. But I'm trained as one of their facilitators as well, and it just works. It's a simple model that works. It's a place to go where you can get that crap off your chest, you know what I mean, and do it in a safe environment where people are going to be non-judgmental as well. It's really good how that works. It really is, massively. So so we've sort of developed our groups though for men and women, because for our charity we support. I don't like to use like you have a strap line and objectives and everything. You have to stick to those objectives, but so we mainly support families and young people, but we've put in there and the general mankind. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't rule people out. It's about being inclusive, isn't it? But it's a big thing that we're like. I mean, we're all volunteers, and it's absolutely lovely. The people I get to meet, it's amazing. I meet some lovely people. But I think one thing I think, a lot of people get confused when you talk about mental health is mental health and mental illness. And I don't know how much you sort of delve into yourself, but they're two totally different things. Mental illness is an illness where you need professional help. Do you know what I mean? You need professional help for that, and it will affect your mental health. And people will say, I've got mental health, and everybody's got mental health, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? I hear that term used so much. Oh, and we never had mental health in our day. You had a leg can be broken. You've got a mind, you can have poor mental health. It's just your state of mind. That's all your mental health is, isn't it? It's a state of mind as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think what happens is like we all spend, like everybody's big into the gyms, running, everything else, which is you're looking after your body as well as your mental health. But your brain's the same. It needs a service. It needs a kind of a workout. And everyone gets that in a different way. And you touched on the spiritual kind of thing, and everyone's spiritual journey, they can take that how they want, or develop that and kind of take what meaning they want from that. And like you said, yours, you found your kind of own spiritual way with what you're doing. I mean, going out and walking and getting in the fresh air and being outside, people probably sort of take it for granted. I kind of get out and do a lot for that reason as well, because it does clear your head. And there's a lot of groups out there now. There's walk and talk groups. The fire service have kind of got one where they go out and they meet up once a week, and they walk around Sherwood Pines as well. They meet up and have a coffee. We've been down on the truck, parked the truck up, and we kind of had a wander around. We'd have left one person on the truck. You know what I mean? So
is that the one from Newark? Is that the one from Newark, the walk and talk?
No, I think they may have one as well, but it's run by a guy called Scott. He lives in Edwinstowe. I think he's up at training school now, and he runs one once a week. Some of the old retired fire service veterans come down, because again, they kind of leave the fire service, they walk out the door, find themselves very, very isolated. So it's just a meet up, an organized meet up where people, like-minded individuals, can have a chat, can have a walk, and get out in the fresh air and have a bit of a purpose, sometimes. And it can be as simple as that, Garnet.
Yeah, and that's you just said something there. That's the age-old question, isn't it, as well? What people want to know, what their purpose is. What is the purpose? And I truly think that we are the purpose, each and every single one of us. And learning to understand that, and learning to understand your own emotions and how you react to things as well. I think in life, everything is a contributing factor, but certain things don't make it your fault. So I've gone back to such a young age, and all of Jake's entire life, I've gone back through all that. What if I'd have done this? What if I'd have done that? You question these things, you know what I mean? You go through all the what ifs, and it's normal human behavior to do that. You go through the blame stages of grief, and there's all these different stages of grief, and they can come at any times they want. But to learn to understand yourself, it doesn't mean that I don't have moments. I mean, do you know what? We could be talking about something. I can have a moment. It could be just so random, and I could tear up about it. And sometimes it can hit me so bad when I'm up at night time that it's in my sinuses, and I get the worst sort of I've learned to know when my migraines are coming on now. I've learned so much about my own body. I'm so self-aware, and I can control. Well, I'll take tablets for my migraine. I'm not a big fan of tablets, but I will take them for my migraines. And so just developing that awareness of yourself. You what do you know what I mean? To understand yourself that much. There's only you can know that much about yourself. Do you know what I mean? There really is. And oh wow, do you know what? There's so much. I can't believe when I look at what's happened in which is a short space of time. Really, I could sit here and think, and most bereaved parents will do in my position, I'd imagine as well. They sort of can't see. Yes, some count the day. Whatever helps them at the end of the day. They'll count the days or know the exact amount of days. Occasionally, I've gone back and thought, I've counted the days, but I've done that purposely more so to put things into perspective, to try and create something on social media. See, I'd be off social media. I don't care about being on social media myself. I don't need it. I'd rather smash my phone up and go outdoors.
Same, absolutely same.
There's so much negativity on there, and I think it's important to try and put something positive on there, isn't it, for everybody else?
Absolutely.
To see if they can find their self-worth. For me, it's helping others find their self-worth. We cannot fix each other. We cannot do that. We've got to be willing to, and this is a big thing with men massively as well. Taking that first step when they come to the Andy's Man Clubs, taking that first step through the door. It's such a brave thing to do, but we don't get upset. We don't cry. We're men. Do you know what I mean? But I think we're getting better at that, aren't we? I really think we're getting better.
There's, like I've said it a million times. I kind of the first midweek one has just aired with a guy called Ian Hind, and he does Talk Club. He's opened up a branch of Talk Club in Notts, and again, and I said the same to him. It's like the stigma around it, which I find. I'm really open. I tell it how it is. I tell everything it is, rightly or wrongly. Probably lack of filter as well. It's not always a good thing, but I'm
not always a bad thing, though, is it? As long as Do you know what I mean? It's like tough love. As long as you sort of explain why you're doing it a little bit after, so that because they could be in a bad place, you're explaining you've got good intentions because you care about that person. Do you know what I mean? That's what I
No,
tend to do.
absolutely.
Sorry, go on.
No, it is, but it's like I say, I try. If I'm feeling down, I'll talk to my missus. I'm happy to kind of, within reason. I have had my moments through my life, but I have been very, very lucky in a kind of way with the things I've done and the things I've seen that it's not really affected me. But that doesn't mean it won't in the future. So
Yeah.
by keeping on top of it and just doing things that can help it, and like I say, the main kind of one of my main goals is to just get rid of that, destroy that stigma around it. That, if we can sit here as former soldiers and talk openly about mental health, then surely anyone can do it, because we're supposed to be, well, depends what unit from, probably not my unit, we're all a bit weird.
We're supposed to be at the top of that pile of the male sort of bravado, ego and everything, aren't we? Do you know what I mean?
So if we can open up and talk about it, then surely the message out there is that anyone can. And sadly, like you say, I think we are getting there. We're definitely getting there. A lot of things are popping up. The more things the better. But there is still far too many people taking their own lives, even in this day and age, even with all these things in place. But like you say, I think it is getting better.
See, it's a weird one, that, because I mean, a lot of people will say they never understand it, and I feel that I do. I feel I do understand why someone would take their own life. Do you know, when you've sort of been that sort of suicidal, and I said I'd be fine if I passed tomorrow. I'd be fine with that. I'd be okay. It's not. I don't want to die now, and at all. I think the world's a beautiful place, and I think there's too much to see. And then I hear people say, how many times do you hear people say like it's a really crappy world, and it's, do you know what I mean? Yeah, see, I'm trying to be more appropriate every time I talk now. I'm ex-squad, obviously being ex-squad myself, trying to stop swearing and everything. So I'm working with families and young people. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's important to sort of give that message. I mean, I don't mind. There's nothing you can say to offend me. We every single one of us every day will go out of our way to be offended by something. It's what we do. It's human nature, isn't it? So we create that, and that's where we create our own anxieties. We get frustrated at other people because they don't act in a way we expect them to suit our needs. What we've learned through our learned behaviour, don't we? So it's a massive sort of. But no, it's like, I think one of the biggest things I think is going inside yourself. But in this sense, I wouldn't recommend it. And I said this to a chap not long back, I had a podcast with a psychiatrist the other day. Really interesting, that. Really interesting. I'm looking forward for that being put out. And it's understanding yourself is one of the best things you can do. Really is. We tend to blame external factors quite a lot for why we react how we do react, don't we? Every single one of us will blame external factors at some point, no matter how squeaky clean you think you are. Do you know what I mean? It's going to happen. Being aware of that and taking responsibility, which Goggins talks about, taking full accountability, not lying to yourself, really, isn't it? Not lying to yourself and going in there. But I found traumas I didn't know I had when I went back through my entire thought process, started rewiring it to see what sort of person I wanted to be. But I don't recommend anybody to do that if they've got, they could dig up some traumas and they're not prepared to deal with yet, and that can put them into that dark place. This is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Massively. So if everybody started trying to do it the way I've done it, it's not for everybody, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's,
no, not at all. Yeah. And I can relate to that, because I have a few things that kind of dating back that kind of I feel like I'm at peace with them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of, so I've always been reluctant. I've talked to my fiance about them and stuff like that, but I've been reluctant to kind of open Pandora's box, and that's just because I don't know where it might lead. But I'm at peace with them things for now. But when they do become a problem, I will take the appropriate course of action that I need to do to kind of get on top of that, because I can't sit here and preach to everyone else and then not do it. You know what I mean? It kind of, that's the message I'm trying to get out there. So
yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's so much I could talk to you about. There's so much I could say with where this has taken me with how much it's broken, because every part of it has been broken. People wonder how I can be happy still and do what I do, and I want people to question that, but I'll be careful how I respond, because it comes from a dark place. It comes from a dark place. I think a lot of us aren't ready to sort of go in yet. That pit, that darkness, that black pit, and it's not a competition. I'm not saying I suffer more than anybody else, and because this is the thing we do as human beings. Our suffering is personal to ourselves. Our journeys are all different, and our suffering is ours. So most of the time, we will always think we are suffering more than somebody else, the next person, because it's ours, and we're the one that got to deal with that. Do you know what I mean? But there's so much I could explain here, but I'm always conscious of where my learnt behaviour is now coming from. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm in tune with so much. I really am. Just how I feel. You can't say anything. You couldn't say anything to offend me. I guarantee you that. Do you know what I mean? Nobody in this world that could say anything to offend me at all. Do you know when you make your peace with more or less everything, and you're part of everything. I talk to my wife, and I connect with the mountains when I do these challenges. I feel one with the mountains, and I know that sounds corny, don't it, when you say it out loud? But it's how I feel. It's how I've learned to feel, and I appreciate myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I say, this is why it's your journey. And do you know what, pal? I am really glad that you've got yourself in that place, because again, and I don't want to kind of, but that you've had a horrible tragedy there. And I don't even like to think about it from my own perspective. If that was to happen to me, how I would deal with it. But I think the way you've dealt with it, and the way, obviously it's been absolutely horrendous, but you've kind of put yourself in this position now where you've kind of, you've done what the best you can and made yourself, I wouldn't say, well, you might kind of made yourself bulletproof with it, haven't you, a little bit?
We're vulnerable. We're probably one of the most vulnerable species going. Our skulls are so fragile, aren't they, compared to a lot of animals? But you're right. It's not, no one, I personally think that nobody in this entire world, universe, or anything is not vulnerable to suicidal thoughts. Every single one of us are vulnerable to that, whether we choose to admit that or not. And you're right in saying it. I have sort of made myself sort of bulletproof, not vulnerable anymore. But at the same time, I'm not. I'm just a human being. Do you know what I mean? But in my mindset, it's like I don't now. I've started looking into Buddhism. I don't need a physio, and I say this sometimes. And I have conversations with my wife quite a lot about this sort of thing, and I think some people sort of struggle to understand how I've reached this point. But it's like I don't need a physical status. I don't need the vanity side of things anymore. I used to be very vain. Do you know what I mean? I don't need that. So it's more than that. I even said to my wife, I said, I think when you want to think about it now, so many people like, there's only two sexes, there's only male and female. Do you know, if somebody wants to identify as another gender, no matter where it's come from or why that's come about as an additional gender, is it really hurting you? What's the problem? Why are you making a big thing out of it? You know, they're creating suffering for other people. We shouldn't be creating and adding to each other's suffering. And this is what we sort of fall into a rut of, because of what we think is right from our learned behaviours. Do you know what I mean? And if our learned behaviour and our moral system, our moral code that we've developed means being kind to another living thing, is it not time to question that moral code? Do you know what I mean? It's time to question it, isn't it? I think, why? Whoa, you know what I mean? Sure, and it's, we all develop different sort of moral codes. Here's a prime example, right, which I do use when talking to people quite a bit, and it sounds, you know what, I can sound to some people like I'm probably overthinking things, but I'm not. I'm just aware. I'm very aware. So me personally, because of the nature of how I lost my son, so I could see two guys just over in the distance, 20, 30 meters up there, actually a big strapping guy, and working in security-based roles and things as well, your natural protective instinct, because I can see a big strapping guy half his size, and he's effing and blinding, and is pointing, is looking aggressive, and I've not seen what's happened before, but I could go over, and this guy's like cowering or whatever, and I could just challenge him and say, nah, what he doesn't realise, this big guy, is This small guy here might have had a really crappy day. Might have had a really crappy day, and that could be the icing on the cake. And then he goes home. It's fed up with the world. There's too many horrible people in it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think there's horrible people. I think they're just horrible thought processes that we develop through learned behaviour. So, and he could go home that night, and he takes his own life. Do you know what I mean? But I could say that, and this big guy could go home and take his own life because he thinks, am I really that much of a shitty person? Do you know what I mean? So there's the adverse effects with that. So, nah, am I all right swearing on your podcast? Am I?
It is what it is, mate. Don't worry about it. I do all the time, sir.
Yeah. But then I could be driving along and pass through quite a few 30 mile per hour limits. And let's be honest, how many people have done, say, 35 mile per hour in a 30 zone and think nothing of it? How many people have? Let's all be honest, you know what I mean? And I could have had someone tailgating me then and then pull up inside local Tesco's where I've just gone to or something, get out and give me the biggest gobful, pointing the finger at me because saying it's really bad, me doing that, right? Because they've lost a child in a road traffic accident. And these are the learned behaviours. These are the things we all perceive things totally different and develop a moral code. But now, to me, if I was in a vulnerable mindset, her getting aggressive at me, I could go home and take my life. And that's not overthinking things. That is the nature of it all, because we do not know what that person is going through. So, I mean, practicing being kind, I think, is very important. Of course it is. We say it, we hear it all the time with different charities, and it's okay not to be okay. And I do agree with these 100%. But do you know what? People are not going to learn to be unkind because we all have different perceptions, and we learn this type of behavior, and then it becomes a natural defense mechanism, don't it? So that's why we need to concentrate on building this resilient mindset so that we don't get upset by words. Do you know what I mean? We get upset by words, don't we? And like I say, being kind, yeah, but being resilient, you've got to hit it from both angles. You've got to have an understanding at both sides, and then you've got variations off little branches from each one anyway, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? And I just think that's so important. We are worth our own love and compassion as well, and more than anybody, we're worth our own love and compassion. And when you start understanding yourself and question yourself, you know what I mean? Why did I think that was wrong? Because I learned that from my dad. He learned that from his dad. He learned that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm ex-prison officer, so some of the stories you heard. So why did you beat your kid? You know what I mean? That bad? Why? My dad beat me. That's why. His dad beat him. That's why. And I'm not religious, like I said, but no. And then it goes all the way back to it's because the serpent told me to eat the apple. Back to the Garden of Eden, don't it? You know what I mean?
Well, it is a cycle. It is a cycle, and it's like you say, it's about breaking that cycle in a lot of cases. And someone told me quite recently, I don't know how true it is, it was a story about Hitler and how he witnessed his brother being beaten to death by his father when he was a child. So, you know, and there's sort of, I'm not saying, you know, he wouldn't have done what he did done, but I don't know how true that story is, but it learned behavior and stuff, and kind of like this circle of trauma and stuff, kind of, sometimes it has to be broken, doesn't it? And
massive.
No, definitely. Well, what I wanted to touch on as well, because I'm conscious of keeping time and stuff like that.
But I just I'm good. I'm all right. So your time more than out as well.
No dramas, but I wanted to obviously talk about, because you've done some events, you've done some stuff that's been in the news quite recently, and I wanted you to. I think obviously the Deadpool kind of one springs to mind. So if you want to explain that and how you came about, you know, the things kind of spiraled, how they did with that.
Well, as you know, I do like extreme hiking. I've done some ridiculous hikes and carrying ridiculous weight. But I met a guy a while ago. Come across him on social media. A guy called Michael Copeland that does a lot for Staffordshire Mind. You've probably seen him because he's called, AKA the Fridge Man. He carries a fridge up and down mountains on his back. What a lovely guy, honestly, and so aware of so much self-awareness and a lot to give. Do you know what I mean? So in the Staffordshire area, guys, if you're not heard of Michael Copeland and Staffordshire Mind, they're setting quite a bit up to support men around the Staffordshire area, aka the Fridge Man. So I wanted, it's a visual representation, and I wanted something myself. You know, you can't copy someone else's idea, can you? Do you know what I mean? So what can I do? What can I do? I need more of a challenge. And sat with a few friends and that all sort of, it weren't just me that caught with that idea. It was just throwing little things out there, people saying stuff, and then it evolved from there. It was in a pub after one of the walks, one of the smaller groups at the time. We were sort of during the bad weather when not everybody likes to be outdoors in the bad weather, do they? And we sat there, and then this just one of the guys mentioned about bath. And I thought that was it. My brain started working, and I sort of visualized it already to cut like an hole out of the base of the bath so I can actually wear it and be inside it and carry it on my shoulders. You know, the burden on your shoulders of the mental health worries and problems you don't see. And then anyway, oh, let's have some colourful ducks on it, all different coloured ducks, and people sponsor these with their lost loved one's name onto suicide, and it's ludicrous. People will want to talk and want to know about it, or get people talking, and this is the beauty of it as well. It breaks those barriers straight away. When you're outdoors, if you especially down in London, you try and talk to someone on tubes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you've gone into the house on Christmas Day and weed on the kids, isn't it? They look at you, you know what I mean? Yeah. It gets people talking, and then it becomes normal. And then you explain what it is, and I've got, and let's not stop there. I want a flagpole. I want to see these guys' smiling faces. So, and this weighs approximately 15 kilograms. It's not a massive weight, but it's so awkward walking and developing the balance.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
The visual side of it all. So it's more than just that weight on the shoulders. It's more than just that. It's being able to take steps in that bath, especially taking on mountains, because it's been up Kinderscow, it's been up Snowdon and Ben Nevis now as well, carrying the bath up and down Ben Nevis, and it was really wet coming down. And have you done Nevis at all yourself?
I've done them all individually, yeah.
So you know how rocky they are. Can you imagine wearing a bath on that?
I can't, no. I'm not going to lie. You could have just sat in it and slid down. That would have been a good idea, you know what I mean?
I mean, I love that challenge, and I've learned to become hyper-focused and connect. You know what I said? I feel one with the mountain. I've learned to connect. I've learned to become hyper-focused and be aware of everything around me to a point, because I've had to do that, because I'd be dead if I didn't, because I've been very much like my son. I make impulsive decisions. Do you know what I mean? And he's probably learned a lot of this from me. Maybe there might be something underlying there, but it's learned behaviour again. So do you know, when you know that you are a contributing factor towards your son no longer being here as well, there's a potential you're a contributing factor towards that. Well, there is, every single one of us. But when you know that, you want your contributing factor in life towards everybody to be good intentions and to be better. I mean, it's about making yourself a better person, and then that naturally inspires, don't it? When you've got to inspire yourself, it'll naturally inspire other people. I want to be as happy as him. I want to wake up like that. Do you know what I mean? I have to drag myself out of bed in the morning. I don't want to get up, but then I find hope. Then I find my son. I'm reborn every day, because I find my son every single day to go on. So the bath, it's everything. I love putting that bath on. It was then it was, you've got to incorporate Jake's favourite superhero, Deadpool. And I love Deadpool. Or who don't love Deadpool?
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Jake, absolutely. It's being a 15-year-old lad, do you know what I mean? And that teenage years, it's that crudeness of the humour with it, isn't it? The adult humour growing up as a teenager.
My dad loves it as well, yeah.
It's great. Yeah. So sort of looking at this, put it to the trustees, like, yeah, brilliant. Let's do an entire, and we ended up putting an entire year campaign in place where we're encouraging other people that do the challenges with us, and to get other bereaved parents to join us, other people struggling, and dress up as who they want to, as their favourite superhero as well. And do you know, it makes people feel good about themselves being a superhero for the day, don't it? Do you know what I mean? And get out there and do this and inspire yourself. And it sparks up so many conversations, the amount of conversations we've had with it, and people that have actually said when the stories where people have told us that we've saved them, they was contemplating taking their own life that night, and this happened on one of the walks, which started early hours, and it was out there drunk. A guy was on a bench, and didn't even realise I was wearing a bath dressed as Deadpool. He was that drunk at first, and he said, you guys, when he realised and walked with us for one of the laps, this was on another challenge. He said, "You guys have saved me tonight." I said, "I didn't want to be here." He said, "I was contemplating what I'm going to do." And yeah, he basically just come out and said, we saved him. He just fell out with his partner, and he tried to get back home to talk to his missus. He gets back home. He's like, "Come and walk with us. I'm walking with Deadpool in the bash." And she didn't believe. She don't believe me when he come back. She don't believe me. She not talk to me. I'm not surprised she don't believe you. You're walking with Deadpool in the bash. It was so funny that bit where. But then he was so determined to walk with us, and he ended up coming back a bit later. Done about a few laps with us, and him and his missus joined us, and good conversations again. So they'd made up, they made a donation into the pot as well. See, that to me, that's a byproduct. The donations are a byproduct. I hate the old rattling the tin mentality. I hate it more than anything. You make things about the money, right? You're doing things for the wrong reason, in my opinion. You make it about the money because it don't happen. You will naturally then do things where it feels like you're pressurizing people. We're all struggling at some level, aren't we? So that needs to be a byproduct. People can do, they do. It's simple as that. I don't expect anything from people. I want people to do things because they want to do it. And I know it, like I say, I know that needs to come, but it'll happen. It'll happen naturally. And then there's more to plough into supporting more people in the long run. So, and that's the beauty of all this, because it's just all happening naturally. But yeah, so the bathtub, it's been all. I did a fifth. I wanted to do something. So it's done loads of mileage. I walked all the way to Wrexham from Mansfield, averaging at 20 hours a day. And with time, this a good friend of mine, Andy Vesey, he sort of come up with this idea. He's like, this will. Ryan Reynolds will see this, John. Do you know what I mean? Because he owns Wrexham. And I'm like, even to this, I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm backing Ryan into a corner because it's going to be publicised. Some guy walking in a bathtub. Ryan's got his, even though he's a celebrity and that'll make him wealthy, obviously, he's going to have his own mental health issues. If not with that sort of level of fame, can create more mental health issues. So I sort of felt like I semi-backed Ryan into a corner with it. But do you know what? The guy's amazing. He got in touch with us. And personally, his messages to me, I got a message on Twitter and back and forth for quite a while for the first month or two. He was messaging with us, such lovely, just the messages was full of support for me and admiration with how he was talking for me for what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? And that was nice. Having that message that first day. This challenge were done. My challenges are done before I've even started them. I've psychologically done the challenges, so I know I'm going to do them because I enjoy putting that bath on. I put that bath on with pride, and I take those steps forward no matter how hard they are, and I enjoy them and I do it because my son can't do it anymore, and I do it because every single one of them person that is represented by a duck representing a person. It's ludicrous when you think about it, isn't it? These are people, but the colourfulness of the ducks, it's a bit sort of friendly-ish, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I do it because they can't take those steps. It's evolved past my son. It's everybody's children for me. It's about creating something, so showing people we can be more than what we suffer. I don't just enjoy taking those steps and challenging myself physically and knowing my capabilities. I take great pride in doing that. I really do. And I did a challenge not long back where it was Jake's day. I had to put July on hold because Ryan got he wanted to meet up and do an interview, and he'd got the entire world tour going off for one of the biggest films in the world, Deadpool Wolverine. And I was on hold waiting for the date to come through to meet him and what's going to be happening. And I knew in a nutshell, it made it perfectly clear, but then things can change. And in a situation like that, you've got Disney and Marvel, you sort of talk involved, haven't you, as well? And they're massive, they're huge businesses. So, and I know I don't build me hopes up because I know things can change. But then I normally do something on Jake's anniversary, and this year I didn't get to do something because this was so important. What Ryan was going to do for us and promote our charity and what I'm doing. Here it comes, mate. I said I might well up, didn't I? I can feel it coming now. What he said what he did is impeccable. His timing. He shared it all. He shared the fact his fourth child in the interview was is a son, Olin, and he kept this secret since February last year. He's got 3 girls, and all his fan base was dying to know what his sex his child is, his fourth child. And he announced his son to the world in an interview with me at the same time as he introduced my son to the world. Oh. And he did this on the Friday of the week that the Deadpool film was released. What a guy. What a guy. Do you see now?
Are you getting me now? Are you getting me now?
You want to see the comments? I've been going through them and I want to answer them all. There's so many lovely comments. There's the odd troll on there, and I'm aware. I like how David Goggins puts the trolls sort of things together and uses it as fuel. Do you know what I mean? You get sort of you think you need to explain something to them, and you don't need to explain anything to them because they're set in that mindset where they've not learned that much about themselves yet. It's just someone else's fault normally outside, isn't it? And I say that with the deepest respects, guys. If you're in that position, okay, I really do. Because they're saying a couple of really unkind things on there, and I want to emphasise that. If I'm honest with you, I want to emphasise it in a few videos I'm going to start doing myself, because we need to understand. You know, why do we just go out there and why do people go out there and troll and say something so ridiculous, absolutely so ridiculous? I'll try and think of one off the top of my head now. I just couldn't believe it. But I'm not going to say it, because if that person listens to this podcast, they will question themselves, and these are the sort of people that are probably more vulnerable than most of us, because they obviously can't like themselves that much. If they're saying that about other people, it's a reflection. It's back to the Carl Jung. You reject it inside yourself and you project it in other people. So I'm not going to do that, because that'd be wrong of me, because they are more vulnerable than us, I believe. And all I want to do is I want to respond to hate with love at all times. So people get my love back. Do you know what I mean? That's all I want to give. I don't want hate in my heart anymore. So Ryan, back to that with Ryan, what he did there, just wow. Do you know what I mean? Wow, unbelievable. And he's given me a platform, so to speak. So I put it on my YouTube now, the video as well, even though it got 5.9 million on one of his. He shared it on LinkedIn. He shared it on Facebook and Instagram, shared it on Twitter. So Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm sure there were another one. I can't think. I'm setting up that many different social media outlets now, and it's a full-time job in itself to keep on top of those, because I'll reach a bigger audience with what we're doing, and hopefully be able to give more people hope. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that was massive. So I ended up doing, because I couldn't do it on my son's anniversary. That's the first time I've not done anything since I lost him on his anniversary. And You know what? I realised something. I was fine. I was okay. I was perfectly okay. So I think I sort of looked at this, and I think I actually set things on those dates now to have a bigger impact, to show people how strong my mindset has become, and we can all do this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we can all do this. Yeah. A day's just a day to me. I get, do you know what I mean? I've got no perception of days being a different time of the year. Like, weather don't stop me doing anything with extreme challenges. The more difficult the weather is, the more I like it. I've been at Whernside, Chris. I've been at Whernside doing Yorkshire 3Ps, sideways Elstone. This is what I was saying earlier, Whernside. I was sideways Elstone, and I looked up at the sky, right? I'm not going to lie, I was freezing cold. I was wet through, because no matter how good your waterproof kit is, when it's torrential rain coming at you sideways,
no kit's waterproof. No kit's waterproof.
And look up the sky to whatever deity you or anybody believes in, or whatever deity there may be up there. And none of us truly know, I don't think, until it's our time, do we? Do you know what I mean? But it's what we do now, here. This is where it should be happening, isn't it? We should be living heaven on earth right now, here.
Living in the present.
And looking up there, literally screaming, is that the best you've got? You're going to have to do a lot better than that. And it's exhilarating to reach a point like that. It's absolutely exhilarating, and I feel alive. I had to make myself in that first year feel alive, so I didn't have to take my own life. Do you know what I mean? And that's the stage I've got to, and it's growth constantly for me. Every single day is growing. It's about growing as a person.
Well, no, Paul. Look, my hats off to you. I knew I kind of read bits and bobs about you along the way and some articles and stuff, but like hearing it from like first hand from you about how you've overcome the, probably one of the most horrendous tragedies going to kind of not turning it around, but dealing with it and turning the negative into a massive positive and kind of finding yourself and everything. I just think the whole story is kind of amazing. And I don't want to say anything that's gonna, but I think, with Jake looking down, I think he'd be immensely proud of what you've done and what you continue to do for others and for the charity and everything else, pal. So honestly, hats off to you. I think you're fantastic, pal.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers. And what you're doing here, mate, don't dim down what you're doing yourself. How many people you're talking to that you're presenting to the world as well yourself, and what you're going through yourself, and you're still doing this as well, because we all have our demons, don't we? So
we all have a demons.
We're all in it together.
Like I said,
we're all in it together.
I think we are, mate. We are, and it's good. It's I will help anyone, and you seem the same sort of way. I'll help anyone push anything they're trying to push, as long as it's positive. I don't want the negativity. I'm the same as you. I don't do the trolls. I don't do the negativity. Not interested. I've not always been that way. We change as we get older, but I've reached a period in my life where I am happy. I am 100% happy in my relationship, with everything else, my career, and I just want to I wanted to put a little bit back. Why not? If it's the least I can possibly do.
That's beautiful, isn't it? You heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer?
Say again.
Have you heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer? He died over the last decade. No,
I haven't. No.
Cracking guy, absolute beautiful mindset in this guy, and he talks about that you cannot give what you haven't got, and he talks about I love this. I know I talk about it. I probably spoke about it in a couple of different podcasts as well, but the orange juice analogy. So you take an orange and you squeeze an orange, all you're going to get is orange juice. No matter how many times you squeeze that orange, you will never get apple juice. Do you know what I mean? So you get orange juice. So if we're full of hate because we're cultivating hate and hating all external factors because we don't really like ourselves, and this is the double-edged sword with suicide, where people think they're a burden on people as well. Do you know what I mean? So this is, if we respond to hate ourselves, we all learn to respond to hate with love. You can't fault that at all. So if you're cultivating suffering, you're dwelling on this suffering, you're building it all up inside you, you're not giving yourself a chance at all. You're not giving yourself a chance. And someone squeezes you, it's like you're going to explode on them, isn't it? All that aggression and everything, anger inside of you, you're going to explode on them. And but if we learn to cultivate love, if we learn that compassion for ourselves before, don't. I mean, the compassion and love for yourself and that self-care. People confuse it with the old self-importance thing, don't they? Do you know what I mean? They become arrogant and self-important.
Egos take over, don't they?
Exactly, yeah. And the irony behind the ego is we create it; it doesn't even exist.
You're full of it. Like in your 20s, and I think we're all guilty of it. You kind of want to be someone. You've got this ego. You want to be, and then you kind of. I think 40 for me was a turning point where you just like, God, I'm not that person anymore. As long as it comes down to making yourself happy. I just want to be happy. I want to be chilled. I want to enjoy life. I want to travel to as many different countries, mate. And do that sort of thing. And if I can pull along enough people with me, then I will do.
Do you know if you can achieve that happiness without anything like external factors, and that happiness comes from within? And I know I'm like talking as if I'm a Buddhist now or something. I don't claim to be. I don't like to put a label on anything. I practice Buddhism ways. You know what I mean? You don't put a label on things because we're more than that. Each and every single one of us. So, like I was saying, with the squeezing someone that's full of love, who's cultivating love, all you're gonna get is love. It's very, and it's if we all learn to think that way. That would be, and it's never going to happen if we be realistic, that would be world peace, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? That would be world peace. So we're our own worst enemies. We're our own worst enemies. We're wrapped up inside ourselves and things. And you walk inside, you walk inside like the old, say, like university, or you see it in the American films when they're joining a new school or college and they're choosing where to sit. And it's like the old, do they actually like me, or that sort of thing. And we create all these problems in our own head. We create our own anxiety by dwelling on all these things and thinking things, overthinking things, should I say. Do you know what I mean? We create all that. And And this is where the awareness comes in. Awareness is so important. Just awareness in general, not like when we use the term cancer research, cancer awareness, and all this, and for different charities, and suicide awareness. So important all round as an whole. And I speak about this quite a lot. It's really important just to develop awareness of each other, yourself, and each other in general, and be more aware of that, so we can learn to be more compassionate with each other. Like I say, it always starts with yourself, don't it? Always starts with yourself. So you cannot give what you haven't got. So if I woke up every morning, this coming back to this Wayne Dyer thing, what you said about giving back. If I woke up every morning, oh, my son's dead. You know, I sound like I'm being a bit pedantic there and patronising, don't I? My son's dead. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? When's something going to go right for me? When's the universe going to start providing something for me? When am I going to start providing something for the universe? That's the question we need to start asking ourselves. The rest will really fall into place. And I know, because I see this every single day, and I know it's a choice to wake up and choose to be happy every single day, because I have to make that choice. Otherwise, I'd be joining my son in the other world where he is, and that's not something I'm about to do at all. No, not at all.
Absolutely, mate. Well, no. I love your ethos, mate, and I love your positivity behind it all. I think it's fantastic. So just to finish off there, because I'm conscious that we're kind of into the hour. How do we find information on your charity? How do we get all of that? Is there a kind of, I can put a link in the podcast at the end, but you know, kind of.
It's walking for hope. So walking. A lot of people sometimes they'll type the FOR, FOR, but it's the number 4. So it's the number 4. Walking for hope, not walk for hope. Walking for hope, because it's going to be continuing to do so until my last breath. So walking for hope, and you can't miss the logo. It's got you've got the sycamore seed in there, like curled over into a ribbon shape, and then you've got our motto underneath, which is resilience through nature. So if you Google us, we come up in all the top searches now, especially since Ryan shared everything. And you'll probably, if you type my name in as well and the charity, you'll come up with some of the ridiculous challenges I've done as well. You'll see over the time. So yeah, it's dead easy to find. We've got Twitter. I'm more active on Facebook. Feel free to follow me on Facebook as well. And we've got a LinkedIn. So if you do Walking for Hope LinkedIn, you'll see all our links on there anyway. Just search Walking for Hope LinkedIn, and it's all on there. Donations pages on there as well for anybody that does wish to donate, and anybody that wants to get involved with the charity in any way, voluntary services or anything, or you want to come along and reach out to us and come and join us on some walks, feel free to approach me, guys. My number's plastered everywhere on social medias, on our website as well, so it's walkingforhope.org, and come and get involved, guys. Come and get involved. So it's not. I'm not going to be like an ex-military PTI or anything like that. I'm not actually as fit as most people think I am. It's all mindset with me. So come along, get involved, and enjoy it. We do family walks as well. We do take young people out with us as well. But if you're unsure about it, if you've not been into the peaks of the mountains before, please contact me first. Please join us on some of the local midweek walks as well around the Sutton in Ashfield and Mansfield area, stemming up towards Edwinstowe. We do all the local routes around there, meet up at a nice cafe, bite to eat. Just come and get involved, guys. It's nice and meet new people. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to talk and think you've got to give yourself anxiety, because I ain't got any problems with mental health. We all have it. It's normal to have some sort of issue. It's not saying you're mental by using the word mental health, is it? You know what I mean? That stigma is getting broken now. It really is. And guys especially, do you know what I mean? It's good to get out. Come and join us. Have a chat with me. Talk as much as you want. Ask me anything you want, and we can build people up to sort of become more resilient and take on mountains as time goes on as well. So it's
well, fantastic, pal. Fantastic. Well, I will come along to one of the walks. I'm not saying when you're up this way, Edwinstowe or anywhere in Mansfield. I'm kind of based over at Mansfield anyway, so I will gladly come along for one of the walks, and maybe even one of the peaks. Me and the missus get up there quite regularly. We've just come back from there because we love it up there. So no, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I will chat to you off air in a second, but thank you for sharing and coming on and kind of spreading the word and spreading the love by all accounts. And it's been a pleasure, pal.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks for your time. Thank you for having me, buddy. And thank you for
Anytime,
listening.
mate.
Cheers.
Anytime, mate.
Well, can't see the sunshine, guys. Be the sunshine.
I like it. I like it, pal. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.